Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is our Thursday 13 episode. I hope you're having a good Thursday. I hope we're ready for a list of the 13 things that have happened to Roger in the past few days. Because he's got a list that only he can tell you about. No one else has this list. Okay, this is the first time premiere of his list. This is Before Coffee, the father and daughter comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look up our stories 10 to 15 minutes before we started, and we haven't had any caffeine, unless your power's been out, and I've been up for like 3 hours already, so I'm not tired whatsoever. Well, let's get into our stories by reading out these headlines. Today on Before Coffee, duties French ministers against Meloni's visit to Trump. EU unity is at a risk.
Americans convicted in Congo of a botched coup attempt now face U.S. charges.
Dutch cannabis growers welcome expansion of state-run experiment to make sales legal.
And today is on Thursday's 13. We looked at 13 things that happened to me in the last 13 days or so.
Cannes Film Festival unveils 2025 lineup with Julia Ducournau, Wes Anderson, and Ari Aster.
And it's National Siblings Day. So if you got a sibling, give him a hug, give him a call, say I love you, I hate you, whatever. On April 10th, 2025 on Before Coffee.
Yeah, I do have a lot of siblings. Maybe I should message them. They never message me, and it always sucks to be the one messaging them,
yeah.
You know? And I guess I get a bit resentful,
that's not the way to do things.
But today, no
way
resentment. Just I'll message them if I remember to do that after the show. Maybe I'll message them during the show. Anyways, let's get started with our segue wheel so we know what to say instead of awkwardly looking at each other and going, is your story over? Oh, no, we still end up doing that anyways. Is that the end of your story? Not sure. All right, you got to give me a metaphor and simile. For my first story, we're going to talk about right-wing people meeting each other, and everyone is surprised. This is by Il Fatto Quotidiano, an Italian paper. According to Politico, the Paris government is looking with anxiety at the Prime Minister's initiative. Meloni, the Prime Minister, the spokeswoman for the Elise, adjusts her aim. No worries, dialogue is welcome. The French government is looking with anxiety as the visit to the United States by Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, who will see convicted felon Donald Trump at the White House on April 17th. This is what the Politico website wrote. Relaunching the statements of two ministers from Paris, according to whom Meloni's only mission could be to undermine European unity in the strategy of responding to the duties imposed by the U.S. president. The risk is there. It is a risk that has been present since the beginning, because we know that Donald Trump has a fairly clear and simple strategy: divide the Europeans. In the face of the risk, we must be united, because Europe is only strong if it is united, Industry Minister Marc Ferracci said on France Inter Radio. In response to a question about the danger that the Italian Prime Minister will play the game alone if we start having bilateral discussions, this dynamic of unity that is currently present will end up breaking, he warned. European Affairs Minister Benjamin Haddad, in response to a question about Meloni's visit during an interview on public television, also stressed the need for unity among the 27 member states. I would argue all of the states in Europe, not just the ones in the EU. We should all unite, because the more people we have, the more power we have. That's what I've always said. If you go to the United States divided, do you think you are stronger than if you go with all 27, with 450 million people, which is just same amount of people that the U.S. has? So, yes, rhetorically, we will see what Meloni has to say. There may be discussions, however. It is in our collective interest to have a united and firm response rather than divisions, he added. This is the same reaction people had when the Hungarian Orban president visited Putin when he was president of the EU as well. And everyone was also like, stop undermining the EU by visiting people we're currently not talking to, okay? Words to which government officials in Rome responded angrily. The first is the Minister of European Affairs, Tommaso Foti, of the Brothers of Italy. It would I would like to ask a question to our French friends. We're so worried about the Meloni-Trump meeting. Why is it that when President Macron goes to Washington, everything seems to go well? But when Meloni goes, it doesn't. Respect and reciprocity, dear French friends. There are no first-class nations and second-class nations, he attacks. Then comes the more sober but equally clear comment from Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani. They obviously haven't understood the spirit of this mission. The European Union is very happy that Italy is going to speak to support European positions. Seems to me that France has done many missions. We are Italy and we work in the interest of the European Union. In the evening, when asked about the issue, the spokeswoman for the Elise, Sophie Primas, partially adjusted her aim. Prime Minister's trip to the United States, she told reporters, does not worry us because all the voices that allow for a dialogue with the United States are welcome, especially since Miss Meloni indicated on Monday, through her delegation, that she was in solidarity with the European Union, and that is part of the European Union, obviously. She pointed out, however, it is the unity that we must show the United States. Once again, no worries. I think what they're trying to say here is nobody is saying that Meloni is countering European party lines, I guess, so to say. But there is a worry because she is a right-leaning politician that, she might be doing something underhanded. I think especially people who are more center-right, don't trust any of the more far-right politicians at all. There's definitely a trust issue here. I don't trust them, but I also wouldn't trust a far left politician either. If the far left politicians started meeting with a bunch of communist people, I would also be like, I think the far reaches of politics have a use, but they shouldn't be in government. I think the more center, the better, because you need to cover everyone in your country, not just the people who are on the far right or left. But for me, I think as my small little, bachelor's degree in European politics that I have, that's probably why there's such an uproar about this. Openly supporting the Italian initiative is Manfred Weber, president of the European People's Party, the political family that Forza Italia is part of in Brussels. I welcome all attempts to talk to Trump. Meloni and Tajani think and work with a view of defend Europe's interests. Populist leaders, on the other hand, are selling out our European interests, he said in a press conference to present the party's Congress in Valencia. And when asked whether the populists include Lega leader Matteo Salvini, the most Trumpian of Italian government officials, he replied, sideline, there are many populist leaders in Europe. I'm not going to answer that question, is what he said. Yes, but no, I'm not going to answer. In Italy, meanwhile, the opposition criticizes Meloni's visit by linking it to Trump's statement about the countries that are calling to kiss his ass in an attempt to reach an agreement. It also doesn't help that she's a woman, too, so that also undermines it, right? Because we can try to act like we've achieved gender equality and stuff, but it's still like, oh, wow, the woman politician is going to go meet with Trump.
Oh, not
Come
that.
on, man, don't kiss his ass. The uncertain and ubiquitous attitude of the Prime Minister, who instead of strengthening the European response to Trump's madness, agrees to go to Washington with her hat in her hand after Donald Trump offends Italy and other European countries, is disconcerting. Italian interests are defended by clearly siding with Europe in building an effective response to the imposition of the duties and not by begging for a caress after being humiliated. To the Democratic Party leaders in the Chamber of Senate, Chiara Braga and Francesco Boscia, and the head of the delegation to the European Parliament, Nicola Zingaretti, same concept expressed by Secretary Elly Schlein, on the same day that Giorgia Meloni triumphantly announces that she will be received at Trump's court on April 17th, the American president insults with unrepeatable words those who would propose a meeting. The self-styled patriots lower their heads once again and expose business and workers to enormous risks and a collapse of our international credibility. Italy cannot make this impression, she attacks. While the M5's president, Giuseppe Conte, asked the prime minister a surge of pride on behalf of all Italy, we have already seen Biden kiss Meloni's head, so no more exchanges of kisses, he jokes. Up until now, we have seen her display the flag of sovereignism. But the reality is instead of subservience to Europe and Washington. I trust that she will not come back with large commitments to purchase American weapons and American gas, he provokes. So, yeah, it's really hard to be a woman And it's definitely hard to run a country, and she's definitely showing what a lot of people would see, some weakness, bowing down to Trump's bullionism, I guess you could say, from a lot of other women in government, what it looks like. But there's my story on Italy and my favorite Italian leader. Love talking about Meloni. And on to your story.
All right. Italy is like a semi-loyal dog who is looking for a different home.
Yep.
There you go. Your metaphor.
She's looking for a special home for her Italian dogs only, That's what people are worried about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is there a famous Italian dog? I can't think of any. There must be, though. No. Every country has a special dog.
There is none. There just is no famous Italian dog.
All right, I have to write a limerick.
All right. Spin the wheel, I guess.
I already did. Limerick time.
Limerick time. You got a limerick, anything that rhymes with Congo. Americans, this is from AP News, Hannah Schoenbaum and Eric Tucker. Americans convicted in Congo of a botched coup attempt now face U.S. charges.
Uh-oh.
From Salt Lake City. 3 Americans repatriated to the United States and Congo this week have been charged with participating in an elaborate coup attempt aimed at overthrowing the African nation's government last year, the U.S. Justice Department said Wednesday. A 4th man, alleged by prosecutors to be an expert in explosives, was also charged with aiding the plot.
Ooh.
The criminal charges arise from the same set of allegations that led to 3 of the defendants being detained in Congo and receiving death sentences. The sentences were later commuted to punishments of life imprisonment before the men were ultimately transferred Tuesday in U.S. custody to face charges in an American court. Their repatriation came amid efforts by Congolese authorities to reach a minerals deal with the U.S. in exchange for security support to fight rebels in the country's conflict-hit east.
Wow, what a 90s position to take.
Yeah, a criminal complaint unsealed by prosecutors Wednesday follows a long-running FBI investigation, accuses the men of conspiring to provide weapons, explosives, and other support to a rebel army that was formed to try to overthrow the government.
Afghanistan.
Among the 3 Americans is What's that?
I said Afghanistan 2.0. Hey, here's some weapons. Overthrow your government. Welcome.
Not quite, right? There's only 3 Americans, so the U.S. government. Among the 3 Americans is 22-year-old Marcel Malanga, son of opposition figure Christian Malanga, who led the coup attempt that targeted the presidential palace in Kinshasa. The elder, Malanga, live-streamed from the palace during the attempt and was later killed while resisting arrest, Congolese authorities said. Prosecutors say the accused wanted to establish a new government. Prosecutors say the plot was to establish a new government known as New Zaire and install Christian Malanga as its president. The younger Malanga identified himself as the chief of staff of Zaire Army and acted as a leader of the rebel forces, court documents say. Christian Malanga, who was born in Congolese capital of Kinshasa, had described himself on his website as a refugee who settled in the U.S. with his family in the 1990s. A self-proclaimed leader of the shadow government in exile, sold used cars and dabbled in gold mining before persuading his Utah-born son to join the foiled coup. Christian Malanga was convicted in Utah of assault with a firearm in 2001 and had charges dismissed in several other criminal cases. Marcel Malanga, Tyler Thompson Jr., 22, and Benjamin Zalman Poland, 37, will return to the U.S. Tuesday. They're expected to make their first court appearances in Brooklyn. Why is this story originates in Salt Lake City, though? Okay, the alleged explosives expert Joseph Peter Moser, 67, is set to appear in court in Salt Lake City on Thursday. That's why it's originated there. Prosecutors say that as part of the plot, he provided explosive training and instructions at his Utah home and contributed weapons. Thompson's attorney, Sky Lazaro, said Wednesday she did not have information to share. No attorneys were listed in court documents for the other 3 defendants. The men are charged with crimes including a conspiracy to use weapons of mass destruction, conspiracy to bomb government facilities, and conspiracy to kill or kidnap persons in a foreign country. Those charges, which taken together could result in lengthy prison sentences in the event of a conviction, could change if and when the defendants are indicted by a grand jury. The complaint provides the most detailed chronicle to date of the planned May 2024 overthrow of the Congolese president Felix Tshisekedi. At least 6 people, including Christian Malanga, died when the armed men in the camouflage fatigues led an attack on the homes of the president and a deputy prime minister. The charging document makes clear that the alleged coup was a result of a months in the making plot rather than a haphazard idea, with the men accused of recruiting friends in the U.S., acquiring drones and military-style weapons, and also participating in extensive firearms training. The men also are also alleged to have hijacked a bus and raided a Congolese police station to obtain weapons for their deadly attack. Malanga told the Congolese judge that his father threatened to kill him if he did not follow his orders. We're about to go take out some terrorists, Malanga is alleged to have told a friend he was recruiting to go to Africa. The friend is not named in the complaint. Other friends told the Associated Press that Malanga had offered up to $100,000 to join him on a mysterious security job in Congo. Prosecutors are seeking to help all 4 men in jail to keep all 4 men in jail as the case moves forward. The 4 defendants pose an extreme danger to the community and present an unmanageable risk of flight, the Justice Department said in a detention memo. Oh, this Justice Department has no problem detaining people without charging them.
Yeah, don't worry about it. At least these guys actually have proof that these guys did anything. That's the only positive of this story.
Yeah, this is from the last year, so this is not like Trump just made this shit up. It notes that Moser, a longtime associate of Christian Malanga, faced allegations of criminal conduct years earlier when he was accused of trying to place explosive black powder on a plane departing from the Salt Lake City airport.
Okay, so he has
guilty to a
history of
mass
destruction, basically.
He pleaded guilty to misdemeanor and was sentenced to a form of probation. Thompson, a friend and former high school football teammate of Marcel Malanga in Utah, is identified in court documents as a drone specialist who prosecutors say shopped for a flamethrower attachment that he had planned to use to light people on fire. His family has said he flew to Africa, what they believe was his first vacation abroad, paid for by Christian Malanga. Witnesses observed Thompson and the younger Malanga conducting drone test flights and firing handguns and rifles at a shooting range near Salt Lake City before they left for Africa, according to the complaint. Moser allegedly helped Thompson and Malanga install the flamethrower attachment and showed them how to use drones to drop firebombs. Messages obtained by investigators show Moser conspiring with Christian Malanga to ship explosives and AR-15 rifles to Congo, the complaint said. Zalman Poland reportedly traveled to Utah to help Malanga recruit soldiers for their rebel army. Yeah, big recruit depot in Utah for rebels to go to Congo, right? If the plot had been successful, Zalman Poland would have become a Christian Malanga's chief staff or would work in finance in the new administration, court documents say. The complaint also places 3 of the defendants at the scene itself using images and posts from the men's social media accounts, including live stream videos that Christian Malanga reported. And then there's your story.
Wow.
On Americans trying to overthrow a government in Congo.
Well,
Where's your limerick?
You can't say they didn't plan very well. But here's my limerick. So let this serve as a warning to all of consequences that will surely enthrall those who dare to play with global sway and seek power with a foreign fall. There you go. I can't believe that. Wow, they did so much work. Just like 3 guys did so much work.
Right. Got that over with. Yeah, right.
Well, I guess that shows to prove that, people are powerful, I guess. People are powerful. Yeah. They may not have been doing it for the right reasons, but there's people, you can do that kind of stuff for the right reasons. All right, remind me of a song. Or remind yourself of a song. As we talk about Dutch cannabis. Hey, this is a good story for the stoners out there. This is by Molly Quayle on AP News. Coming out of Bemmel, Netherlands. Expanded a government-run initiative on Monday, the 7th of August. Sorry, August, 7th of April. I just pushed myself ahead a couple months. Allowing legal cannabis sales. While growing cannabis is still illegal, technically, cannabis shops, known as coffee shops, in 10 municipalities will be allowed to sell marijuana from 10 licensed producers. That's right, they actually smuggle in marijuana and they can sell marijuana, they just can't grow it. It's a very interesting loophole that's been in the Netherlands for probably a decade or so, or maybe even longer than a decade. So you can sell marijuana, but you can't grow it. You are allowed to have 3 plants in your house legally, and I think only in Amsterdam, or maybe I think it's a provincial law, but you're not allowed to actually grow it like a crop. Weed was sold here legally for 50 years, but the production was never legal. So it is finally time to end the crazy, unexplainable situation that makes it a legal professional sector. Rick Bakker, commercial director at Hollandse Hoogsters, one of the regulated producers, told the Associated Press. And think of all the taxes you can get, too. That's really what they should be saying. Hey, guys, we let us sell marijuana. You'll get a lot of VAT. A lot of VAT. You can 21% VAT because it's considered a luxury good. Some 80 coffee shops are taking part in the experiment, which advocates hope this will ultimately end a long-standing legal anomaly. You can buy and sell small amounts of weed without fear of prosecution in the Netherlands, but growing it commercially remains illegal. Bakker's company in Bemmel, near the German border, is indistinguishable from the surrounding greenhouses producing tomatoes and peppers, but it makes 200 kilograms or 440 pounds of weed per week, and is one of the largest producers in the experiment. They were ready for this. They must have been spending a lot of money getting government officials to agree with this initiative. And they're like, we got them to agree. All right, open the weed farm. A trailblazer in decriminalizing pot since the 1970s, the Netherlands has grown more conservative over time. Amsterdam, long a magnet for marijuana smokers, has been closing coffee shops in recent years and has banned smoking weed on some of the cobbled streets that make up its historic center. Good. Secondhand smoke fucking sucks. I don't care if it's what kind of smoke it is. Weed smoke, cigarette smoke, I don't want to smell it, okay? Has somebody with asthma. Keep it away from me.
Smoke out of here.
Anyway, advocates have been pushing for legal growing for years, citing the safety of the product as well as concerns about crime. Benjamin Selma, the head grower at Hollandse Hoogsters, who worked in the cannabis production in California for more than a decade, said the quality control for cannabis is extremely high. We do a full test, microbial cannabinoid, terpene, as well as yeast and anaerobic bacteria, heavy metals as well. So it's very, very controlled, he told AP. Maybe I'll go work at a marijuana farm. I don't even smoke, so I'll be a perfect hire. I won't be smoking the product, you know? Right. I love plants. The company, which does not use pesticides and tightly regulates growing conditions, has an eye to the environment. The production facility gets its energy from solar panels and uses biodegradable packaging. Also, you can use all of the stems and stuff to make hemp, and then you can double up on your the money you make. You know?
Use the fibers to break the rope.
It's also a great opportunity to see how cooperation with the closed chain between legal growers, coffee shop owners, and all authorities evolved works, Breda Mayor Paul Deppler told AP when the first phase was launched in 2023. The experiment is really a political compromise, according to Derek Bergman, chairman of the Union for Abolition of Cannabis Prohibition. The plan dates back to 2017 when Christian political parties and pro-legalization parties agreed to test run after a bill to decriminalize production failed. The government will evaluate the experiment after 4 years. A research team advised by Independent Guidance and Evaluation Committee is examining the effects of a controlled cannabis supply chain on crime, safety, and public health, the government said in a statement. Soma said he is happy to be working with concerns about prosecution. I've seen some bad moments, and I don't know if I ever believed I would be so free. The coffee shops taking part in the initiative are located in Almere, Arnhem, Breda, Groningen, Heerlen, Hellevoetsluis, Maastricht, Nijmegen, Tilburg, and Zaanstad. So not Amsterdam, funnily enough, not Amsterdam. They're trying it out in smaller places because Amsterdam is already famous for it. So like, let's try moving it away from Amsterdam, because that's honestly what Amsterdam is trying to do. They don't want to be known as the weed city. They don't want to be known as the red light district city. They're trying to rebrand right now. I think we did a story on this 2 years ago, right, where they're like, we're stopping people from drinking on the street. We want to make it more family friendly. So they're trying to move all the stuff out of town, so to say. But there's my story on cannabis production in the Netherlands, the greatest contradiction of 50 years. You can buy weed, but you can't grow it.
Yeah, it's gonna appear magically somewhere.
Yeah.
Somehow. Reminds me of a song. I was gonna ride a limerick, but then I got high. I was gonna do a haiku, but then I got high.
Then I got high.
And now the show is over, and I know why. Because I got high. Because I got high. Because I got high. All right.
All right. Let's roll for the next segue and get into our top 13 lists of things you did in the last couple of 13 days, I guess, last 2 weeks.
Okay, we'll get through this quickly because my phone battery, I have no idea what kind of, it says about half, but I don't trust that meter. Okay, so what's your spin?
I got personal story, so hopefully one of these things I can relate to.
I hope so. Okay, number 1. This is starting on Monday of last week, so it's roughly 10, 11 days, so not 13. Monday, I quit my job, which basically I hated most people there, so it was easy to say.
They're racist. Let's just say this. Put it simply, they're all racist.
Yeah, besides that, it was just a terrible place to work. It was just an awful place to work. Just disorganized, just no support. Basically treat you like a criminal for working there. Oh, you're making money. We got to treat you terrible. Oh, okay. Yeah, that was an awful job. Number 2 this week, about 2 days later, Wednesday night, my psycho downstairs neighbor threatened me. Oh, yes. I was up just walking across the floor, and my downstairs neighbor, I don't know, his dog started barking like crazy, and he stomped up the stairs and pounded on my wall and threatened to kick my ass unless I stopped doing something. I don't know what I was doing, but I was supposed to stop. Either way, the next thing, number 3, I called the cops. Yeah, I called the cops. Yeah! I said, oh, a little light bulb goes off in my head. Hey, I can get out of my lease. If I have a downstairs neighbor that's threatening me, I can cancel my lease. And that's what I did. I called the cops, had to file a report. And number 4, the very next day, I got out of my lease. Yeah, that's right. I called them up and I said, hey, I had to call the cops. Oh, yeah, please. Oh, we're sorry. They apologized and they made arrangements. So at number 4, a miracle of miracles. After quitting my job and being stuck with the lease, I am now out of my lease.
Lucky, very lucky.
Yep. The next thing wasn't so lucky. My bike was stolen.
Yeah. Oh, man.
What a coincidence. I called the cops and my neighbor. Next morning, my bike is gone. What a shock. I suspect he stole it and probably threw it somewhere, gave it to a homeless person or whatever the hell he did. But somebody out there with a seatless bike where they had to cut my lock off. It was locked up. It was chained to a fence. So somebody's a real shitbag. If you can afford bolt cutters, but you can't afford a bike, the bolt cutters are worth more than that bike. I'm serious. I only paid $30 for it. I mean, the work I put into it was worth more than that. Plus, it was my only transportation. So whoever stole my bike, fuck you. Anyway. Number 6, I went to open mic night in Salem on Thursday with my ex, my Airbnb lady, the lady nicely I stayed at, Susie.
You had a Thanksgiving with them, right?
No, that was different. This was a different family. This was Susie, the place I stayed, and we went to open mic night because one of her tenants was playing guitar. And he's a really good guitar player. And he wrote 3 songs, saying it's 3 songs he's wrote. He's slightly older than me, so I don't think he's starting a new career. He's basically a guitar teacher.
Not a Capaldi situation, huh?
He threatened to teach me guitar. I notice I didn't say offer. I would have been like, no, don't, please, no. I do not want to be a technically proficient. Oh, look at this! I'm this foo-foo guitar player with all the foo-foo equipment who has to have a special guitar, this and that. No, I'm not going to be that dude. Sorry. I'll play what I feel, and I'll feel what I play. Anyway, that was open night, man. It was pretty cool. There was a lot of poetry, too. There was a lot of very talented people. That was fun. We didn't stay for the whole thing because we're old.
It was your bedtime.
Number 7, not so great news. I had a car accident. Yeah, I had a fender bender. Swapped paint with a car, then freeway. Just as soon as I got on the road, just like minutes after I got on the road, just going to turn in my key. That was it.
Yeah.
That's all I was doing. I wouldn't even been on that road otherwise. And of course, called the cops. So called the cops for my neighbors, called the cops for my stolen bike, and of course, somebody called the cops for the accident. So I got to talk to another cop. 3 cops in 3 days.
What a pain.
At the scene of the accident, number 8, number 7 was my minor car accident. Number 8 was my more major thing that happened. I ran over my phone. That's right.
Yeah.
I left my phone on the ground and drove off. And I was like, shit, where's my phone? Oh, shit, I dropped it on the ground, didn't I? And I went back. It was still there. I hadn't even left the parking lot. I was like, yeah, there it is, upside down. And the screen's all screwy. So, like, I don't know if there's how many years I've had this phone. This is the first phone I took to Europe, so that was probably 2018. So
back when we went to Scotland, you mean?
Yeah, this is the only phone I've had since I
got
T-Mobile.
Wow, I break a phone every 2 years. I'm so clumsy.
Oh, and this screen was pristine. It didn't have a crack, nothing.
Yeah.
It was perfect, and I ruined it, man.
Well, you got your life out of it for sure. If you've had it since 2018, it's got its life out of it.
And I'm only a number 8. It still works. We're talking on it, so
yeah.
Oh, there goes my screensaver. Number 9, I slipped on the side of the road because my load shifted. Yeah, I finally got on the road, and since I had I got a fairly good sized vehicle, but I still just strapped stuff to the roof. One of my luggage just kept coming loose and repositioning. My luggage called Big Red, the one with the broken wheel.
Yeah.
And I was just basically packed with stuff I'm given a Goodwill anyway. I just didn't have time. So I got rid of Big Red eventually. But I slept on the side of the road on Interstate 84 that night because I could not drive any farther because I was afraid of my load flying off in the middle of the night.
And you can't see it.
That's where I slept. Yeah. Number 10, I drove through a protester in Baker City, Oregon. April 5th was Saturday. So Saturday, I was driving through Baker City, Oregon, looking for a place to sleep, and I drove right through downtown. And on my right was the Trump protesters. They're the ones with all the phony patriotism and the flag. We're the real Americans. But they were outnumbered, I would say, 3-1 on the left side by the anti-Trump protesters, and I flipped off the Trump protesters as I drove by them. I was like, fuck you, go live in Moscow, you fascist simps. So I drove by a bunch of fascist humpers and flipped them off. That was number 10. Number 11, I camped and cooked out in the mountains. I eventually got to relax and sit by a campfire, built my own campfire. Cooked my pork chops. I couldn't cook everything.
Oh yeah, right. Your meat was slowly spoiling in your cooler.
No, it wasn't spoiling. It was still frozen. So my meat was still frozen, most of it. And so I only cooked the pork chops. Plus my fire didn't get going that well. The wood was all green. Number 12, I got rid of Big Red. I got rid of the suitcase. I just took everything out of Big Red, crammed it in other places, and just went to Baker City, Oregon, and left Big Red by a dumpster, by the McDonald's where I bought coffee. And that was the end of trying to keep that thing strapped to the truck. That was number 12. And number 13, the meat you were just talking about. I smoked all of it. I smoked all of my meat on the roadside. I bought one of these little tiny grills. Tiny grills.
Yeah, you said you bought one from Walmart or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to Walmart, bought grill and charcoal, and I sat at the side of the road in Salt Lake City, not Salt Lake City, but north of Salt Lake City, in a Utah rest area, and I smoked my steaks and my chicken and my bratwurst. So that's all my adventures on the road for today. And hopefully you have something to add to that. Way too long
Oh, I
diary
mean,
of
you
my
went through a
trip. At
lot in
least,
like a week-ish. Yeah.
and I slept. Still not on the list. I slept in Cheyenne the next night, and the night before last was Council Bluffs, and today I'm in Indiana, almost to the Ohio border. So that's where I am right now.
And
If you wanted
hopefully
an
you're
update, if
home
you
by
give a crap.
tomorrow, I guess.
No, I'll be home tonight.
Okay. You're gonna go get home. Nice. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you can probably drive home with your eyes closed at this point.
It's 11 hours once we get off the air here. So
all right, let's
speed
get
it up.
started. Let's finish the show. My personal story would be, bikes getting stolen. My bike's been stolen twice, I think. Of course, it's a very common thing here in the Netherlands because bikes are like having a car. Everyone has a bike. Some people have two bikes, right? They have a racing bike and they have like a traveling bike, a bike with a friggin' wagon on the front of it, all that kind of stuff. So there is actually a bike economy in the Netherlands. So when somebody steals your bikes here, they will make money off of it. And actually, my first bike that I ever bought in Amsterdam was a stolen bike. That's how the homeless people, get enough money to, buy a stay or buy a shower or something. They steal bikes and sell them to other people in Amsterdam for people who need bikes. So when my bike got stolen, I didn't feel so bad. I was like, I'm just part of the economy, I'm giving somebody a job. I'm an employer.
Yeah. If I see you stole my bike, I'm still going to punch him in the face. Anyway.
Well, there's my personal story about stolen bikes. Let's roll the segue wheel. Segway wheel. And let me cover my...
The seg wheel.
My seg wheel. All right.
Yep.
Write me a haiku about the Cannes Film Festival.
Again?
This is by David Marquand on Euronews Culture. The 2025 vintage is looking big, bold, and star-studded. Here's everything you know about the lineup of this year's Cannes Film Festival. It's unveiled its 2025 lineup after the resounding success of its 2024 edition. Indeed, the 78th edition of the film festival returns after a banner year which saw Cannes steal a lot of Venice's thunder as an awards kingmaker. Honora won the Palme d'Or and went on to win 5 Oscars, including Best Picture, so they predicted that one well. The 2024 competition winners, including The Substance and Emilia Perez, also picked several awards, while other competition titles like The Apprentice and The Seed of Sacred Fig also featured predominantly during the award season. All to say that when it comes to setting the cinematic agenda for the rest of the year, Cannes is the place to be. And it looks like Iris Knobloch, president of the Festival de Cannes, and Thierry Fremont, general delegate, know it all too well. They presented this year's lineup, with Knobloch making a plea for tolerance and diversity, saying that Cannes Film Festival has been in dialogue with the world, embodying a France that is brave, curious, and open. Out of the 2,909 feature films in the pre-selection, that's a lot of films to get through. Imagine watching all of those. Almost 3,000 films I have to go, I don't like the title. We're not putting it in, At some point you're doing that, right? It's like, oh, we're watching another film. You know what? Let's just look at the titles and choose from there. 19 were chosen for the official competition, and the 2025 vintage is looking big, bold, and star-studded. It includes new films by Kelly Reichardt, who returns to the Cannes with the art heist drama The Mastermind. Norwegian filmmaker Joachim Trier, who returns to the Croisette after The Worst Person in the World with a sentimental... can you stop coughing in the microphone while I'm trying to...
I wish I could.
With the art heist drama The Mastermind, Norwegian filmmaker Joachim Trier, who returns to the Croisette after The Worst Person in the World with sentimental value, also featuring Renate Reinsve and Ari Aster's Eddington, starring Joaquin Phoenix, Pedro Pascal, and Emma Stone. While that is a star-studded amount of people, there'll also be Richard Linklater's Nouvelle Vague, which tells the story of Jean-Luc Godard making his classic Breathless. Julia Ducournau's much-anticipated return to the Croisette with Alpla, following Grave, Raw, and the Palme d'Or winning Titan, and Oliver Hermanus, The History of Sound, starring Josh O'Connors and Paul Mescal in a gay musical romance. Expect this one to break the internet. And of course, it wouldn't be a Kane lineup at this point without the Dardanelles brothers, Young Mothers, and Wes Anderson, who bring his latest film, The Phoenician Scheme, to the Croisette. So, as it's all worth singling out this year's opening film, which for the first time will be a debut feature, Partir ou Yor by Amelia Bonin, and that of 6 of the 19 directors in competition are women: Reichart Ducournau, Carla Simon, Masha Shelinsky, Shi Hayakawa, and Hafsaya Hirsi. Everywhere, the Un Certain Regard sidebar selection will showcase several actors making their directorial debut, including Scarlett Johansson with Eleanor the Great and Harris Dickinson with Urchin. There will also be the A24 acquired feature debut from British director Harry Leighton, Pillion, which delves into the gay biker scene in the UK. Ooh, that sounds fun. Among the out-of-competition highlights this year are Jodie Foster's Star V Privy, directed by Rebecca Zlotowski, the music documentary Bono, Stories of Surrender, and the previously announced 8th and possibly final Mission Impossible film, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. It's so funny that Mission Impossible is going to the Cannes Film Festival. That sounds so goofy. The Cannes premiere selection will also feature several early highlights like Sebastian Lilo's Spanish-language feminist musical The Wave, the disappearance of Joseph Mengele from Russian director Kirill Serebrennikov, and the new documentary from the always brilliant Raoul Peck, Orwell, about the life and legacy of George Orwell. Many may be disappointed to see that Lion Ramsey's Die, My Love, Jim Jarmusch's Father, Mother, Sister, Brother, or even Kokonada's A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey are absent from the program, but as Fremau's custom, there will be further announcements in the coming weeks. So these aren't all the films that will be there, but this will be the majority of them. We wouldn't be surprised if the latest Spike Lee joint, Highest to Lowest, or at least one of the aforementioned names, gets a cheeky inclusion. So, the 78th edition doesn't start until the 13th of May, but the political spotlight is already on the festival, a limelight on systematic violence in the world of culture. No Bloke alluded to it during the announcement of the lineup, and it may as well end up being one of the year's main talking points. Indeed, after 6 months' work, more than 100 hearings, and almost 400 people questioned, the National Assembly's Committee on Violence in Film, Theater, and Advertising Industry has presented its report and 89 recommendations. One of these, for example, concerns the right of performers to have a say when it comes to a film's final cut, a recommendation prompted by the testimony of actress Anna Mugliais, who recounted how, after refusing to allow a graphic shot showing her vagina to be kept in, the shot ended up not only in the film, but also in the trailer. Great! Hey, Mom, Dad, you should see my latest film. The trailer just popped up. Oh, my vagina is right there. Thanks, filmmakers. I did not sign in for my vagina to be in the trailer. The report is 313 pages of damning evidence describing moral and sexual violence as systematic, endemic, and persistent. It calls out a system that reflects our society, which is still profoundly sexist and patriarchal, explained MP and Commission Rapporteur Erwan Blalantat. So, when asked about the committee's expectations when it comes to the Cannes Film Festival, Blalantat mentioned the strong sign of Juliette Binoche's presidency and added, if they can continue what they have started, that would be good. Indeed, the celebrated French actress will succeed Greta Gerwig as jury president of this year's festival, marking only the second time in Cannes history that the jury will be headed by a woman for more than 2 consecutive years, following 1966 when Sophia Loren took over president of the jury duties from Olivia Del Havilland. However, Sandrine Rousseau, the chairwoman of the commission, was clearly not satisfied with Balanat's rather vague answers when it comes to Cannes, and has called on the film festival to be a place to change attitudes. He said that the international culture event has to take responsibility, in particular because all the eyes of the world are focused on Cannes in May. The festival must be a place for the change of attitude, where we say loud and clear, institutionally, but also with littered red carpets at the microphone and on the podium, that at last we all want, all the players, all the levels of the professions, for things to change, because this is not acceptable, she said. Razzo added, "This is a message I'm sending to the Cannes Film Festival. You have a responsibility to say, we hear you, we believe you, we will support you, we no longer want this world to be structured in this way." So this year's 78th edition will be a more engaged one? Perhaps. How will Ira Snowbloke and Thierry Faumeau address the findings of the report in a meaningful way so as to contribute to a changing mindset and attitude? Who knows? We'll find out in May. It is worth reminding that the industry's trade unions signed an agreement in Cannes last year, an agreement aimed at preventing sexist and sexual violence in the film industry and regulating the hiring and working conditions of minors under the age of 16. So, since 2018, as stated on the festival website, the event has also strengthened its commitments to fight against sexist and sexual violence for the duration of the festival with dedication to assistance units. All eyes on Cannes for this year's stellar lineup, but also for the future of cinema. There's your story on what we'll probably be talking about until May, probably after May, too, when it happens, because it's one of the biggest film festivals of the world, Cannes Film Festival. So, that's my story.
I'm going to have to correct you on your pronunciation. It's pronounced Cannes, not Kane.
Cannes!
Yeah.
Also, thank you, Vanka, for stopping by for that second place medal.
So it's not pronounced Canes. The S is silent, and the modifier. No, it's pronounced Con actually. So I had to look it up. I don't think you're pronouncing that right. My haiku, which includes the pronunciation. Do you like movies? Go to Cannes and watch hundreds. Bring lots of popcorn. There you go.
Nice and salty and buttery popcorn. All right, let me roll my last segue, and then we can go to this day in history.
And
you can get on the road.
Video.
You sent me a video too. I have to do a haiku now. Here we go.
A haiku on this day in history.
Haiku is
back April 10th.
A different thing.
This day in history.
Very loud video.
We're going back to there we go. Back to the year 1583. Hugo Grotius, the Dutch jurist and scholar whose legal masterpiece De Jure Bella a Pacis on the law of war and peace is one of the first contributions to modern international law, was born. So happy birthday to him. 1633, bananas went on sale for the first time in London. Yes, we have no bananas. 1849, the safety pin was patented by Walter Hunt in the United States. He later sold his rights to the fastener for just $400. Dummy. He probably needed $400. And he put $400 on a horse. That's what he did. Anyway. 1866, 3 years after stopping a carriage driver in Russia from berating his horse, Henry Bergh of the United States founded the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. The SPCA became one of the largest organizations dedicating to halting cruelty to animals. Oh, here comes the sun, even more interfering. 1872, people in Nebraska celebrated the first Arbor Day, planting more than 1 million trees. Other U.S. states and countries later observed this holiday. Happy Arbor Day! Plant a tree! 1912, the RMS Titanic embarked on its maiden voyage, which later ended in tragedy several days later when the luxury liner struck an iceberg and sank. Oh, I wish I could go back and tell those people, watch out for the iceberg! 1919, Mexican revolutionary Emiliano Zapata, a champion of agrarianism and fought in the guerrilla actions during the Mexican Revolution in 1910 and 1920, was ambushed and fatally shot. On this day in 1919. 1925, the first government led by French Premier Edouard Herriot, a radical party leader who had been put in office by left-wing coalition cartel the Gushas, fell. The government fell. He didn't fall. Or he might have fallen. Somebody tripped him. And, sorry. Have a nice trip this fall. 1925, American author F. Scott Fitzgerald published The Great Gatsby, which became a literary classic. 1932, Egyptian actor Omar Sharif was born. He was known as iconic roles such as in Lawrence of Arabia and in Dr. Zhivago. Happy birthday to Omar Sharif. He would be 93 today. 1957, the courtroom classic 12 Angry Men was released in the United States. It starred Henry Fonda as a juror who tries to convince the others that the accused murderer may be innocent. Henry Fonda. 1972, the development, production, and stockpiling of biological weapons were outlawed by the Biological Weapons Convention signed by more than 150 countries. That should have been illegal. 1973, Pakistan adopted its third constitution, shifting the role of Zulfikar al-Bhutto from president to prime minister. In 1986, Halley's Comet reached the perigee, its point nearest Earth, of its most recent passage near the planet. I was not in a position to see it in 1986. I was in 29 Palms, California, being a Marine. 1988, after taking a decade to build the Seto Great Bridge, spanning the island sea in Japan, was open to traffic. A decade of building. 1998, the Good Friday Agreement was signed, calling for a devolved government in Northern Ireland. The accord was ratified by Ireland and Northern Ireland the following month. It was a Good Friday Agreement. In 2001, the Netherlands passed a bill permitting euthanasia, the first such national law in the world. We can't die fast enough here. 2019, astronomers released the first ever image of a black hole, which is in the center of the massive galaxy M87. That's a black hole. I swear that's what it is. Sure it is. Yeah, that's the ticket. Our featured event in 1938 was the Anschluss approved. The Anschluss was approved in Austria in a controlled plebiscite in Austria this day in 1938, soon after Adolf Hitler's invasion of the country. 99.7% of Austrians approved the Anschluss, or German Union, the political unification of Austria and Germany. Not the best idea. None other. Our featured biography is actor Max von Sydow, Swedish actor, born April 10th, 1929 in Lund, Sweden. He would be 84 if he was around, but he did leave, 94 if he was around, but he did live to be 90. He died March 8th in 2020, Max von Sydow. Other birthdays, Matthew Perry, Perry, United States naval officer, born 1794. I believe he reached the North Pole or the South Pole, one of them. 1929, Max von Sydow, we did that. We did Omar Sharif. It's John Madden's birthday. Pow, boom! It's John Madden's birthday, American football coach and television communicator, of course. Got super, super rich on the video game Madden. Yep. Whatever year. It would be
1996 or something. I don't know.
Today.
It's been out for a while.
It's been on for a while. Yep. Madden jumped on there and got rich, even richer than he was. Paul Theroux's birthday today. He's an American author born in 1941. John Madden would be 89 today. Is still alive. Famous for winning football games and a video game. What a career. National days today. It's National Encourage a Young Writer Day. You should always do that. Don't just tear it up and go, that's terrible. Anybody that does that ought to be kicked right in the face.
Yeah, talk about
National Alcohol Screening Day. National Alcohol Screening Day. It's a day. National Cinnamon Crescent Day. National Siblings Day. National Farm Animals Day. If your sibling's a farm animal, you're in luck. And National Erase Self-Negativity Day. Yeah, that goes along with a lot of this stuff. Get rid of your alcohol.
Yeah, just stop being sad.
Young writers. Yeah, no negativity. No room for that today. No room for self-negativity. Those are your days, your spins of the wheels, your updates on the road travels of me for April 10th, 2025 on Before Cinnamon Crescent Rolls.
Hey.
Or cinnamon crescents.
Okay. My haiku is going to be about the Titanic because that was an easy one to do. So, where was it? Where did I write it down? Life jackets tossed, hope fades like the dying light, darkness claims the ship. There you go.
Oh,
It's not nothing positive about the Titanic. So, yeah, it's a sad one. This has been Allison here from the Netherlands and Roger from Indiana, on the road still, hopefully home by the end of the day if we finish the show at any point. As we chalk up another Thursday 13, a very wild week it's been, and we will see you tomorrow for the Friday news dump so we can tie off the day, tie off everything that's been happening this week, and hopefully survive another stock market crash. We'll see. We'll see, because the markets close on Fridays, don't they? They don't work on the weekends, I think. I don't know. I don't know anything about the stock market. I don't have enough money to even participate. So let's go ahead and end the show with our instructions how to not get your bike stolen, or at least prevent it. Yes. Mic drop moment.
Let's do it.
This is your bicycle, but it won't be for much longer, because it's about to be stolen. But how? You think I locked it using only the most secure bike locks money can buy?
Not the AI voice,
You have already answered your own question.
Yep.
Gone are the days of bolt cutters, detached front wheels, and lock pickers. Those are antiquated bike theft technologies that are relics of a past era. On the streets, you won't hear bike thieves saying click out of 1, click out of 2, 3 is binding, nothing on 4. Instead, you will see that bike thieves are using the latest developments in electronic warfare to detect,
they're hacking the bike locks?
and intercept your bicycle. Today, we will show you how to protect your bicycle from theft by using the latest electronic countermeasure systems to reduce the effectiveness of and repel attempts by bike thieves.
I love this little animation, which is just like a 3D bike.
Years, bike thieves
a
have
CGI
begun
bike
to research and
rotating in
understand
space.
the principles of stealth technology, and have therefore developed methods such as reduction of their radar cross-sections and electronic countermeasures to avoid detection by conventional methods.
Not him V-posing in the background.
With such sophisticated technologies, bike thieves
So
are
it's been
able
a
to steal
minute.
your
He hasn't
bicycle
told us a damn
undetected.
thing yet.
We will counter this threat by mounting a long-range tracking radar to preemptively detect any bike thieves that may approach your bicycle, allowing you to respond accordingly to any threats of theft.
On there too.
The tracking radar will measure the target's range,
big gigantic
altitude,
thing back
and
there.
azimuth, allowing you to effectively locate and predict the bike thief's
Hey,
next
you can
move.
put the tracking radar inside the pipe even, and under your chair, so they don't even know it's in there.
Surveillance and
Look, it's
detection
not
of bike
bulky
thieves.
at all.
However, this is not enough.
system
In the case of
sponsored
nighttime
GPS.
operations, during which most bike thefts are executed, vision is
That's my
severely
former
limited,
company.
making your ill-equipped
Yeah, that's why I'm
bicycle an easy
laughing.
and vulnerable target.
Sponsored
The
GPS
development
radar.
programs of bike
video.
thieves have already devised solutions to this, leaving your bicycle an outdated relic of the past. We will solve this problem by mounting optical
Of
equipment,
course.
carrying an
I didn't know it was a
night vision device and
I
infrared
didn't know it
illuminator
was a
headlamp,
parody video.
allowing
when
for the
I started.
detection
Hey,
and
it's even
interception
better
of
because
bike
we were
thieves
talking
that
about
may normally be hidden by
Titanic,
weather
so
and
it's
time
just-
conditions. Now you have turned night into day, allowing you to wreak havoc on any
Don't
scum
forget to
who
wear your
dares venture
armored
near
suit,
your prized two-wheeled possession. We can now
Honestly,
effectively
nobody can
detect,
steal it now
locate,
because it's
and
too
counter
heavy.
bike
Also, they'll
thieves
just
before
steal
they
the
strike.
parts because
They're
that's
gonna
more
However,
expensive.
do not
I would
fall
just
for
steal
the
your
Somebody left their
camera.
given by
GPS
the mere
radar on this
capability
bike.
of
Let me
sight.
go sell that on the
As
black
bike
market.
theft technology advances, we must accordingly adapt and overcome. For example, many people find themselves the victim of anti-tank guided missiles shot at their
Oh
bicycle.
no.
To counter this
When a
threat, you
tank
can mount
shoots
an
on my bike.
electro-optical passive
Definitely
countermeasure
need
system to
rockets.
defend against such guided projectiles.
Oh
The
yeah,
system
what do you
interferes with
got?
the laser range finders of oncoming anti-tank guided missiles
Not
by
an
using infrared
anti-air
dazzlers to emit
missile.
pulsed infrared jamming. When an ATGM
I think the
has been
speed it's
detected,
going, it still hits
disrupting
you with the
trajectory of the
explosion,
missile.
but okay.
Our bicycle is now protected
But
against
the
the variety
heat-seeking
of threats.
missile
We will now
be
place our
deflected
improved
by the
bicycle in an everyday
chaff,
situation
don't
to
you see?
demonstrate the benefits of retrofitting
Alright,
your
right, we
bicycle
leaned it
to
over
accommodate
on
such
a-
technologies.
A garage, yeah.
Yep. The guy just stole it anyway.
Still got stolen. That was a great. Even if it was a parody, that was a great video. Hilarious. Oh my god, I'm crying. How funny that was.
Good.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, history of gravy, and scratchy old records.